Yeah, I think what happened, I was trying to get to the computer, and I was far away from the mic, and it wasn't modulating. But control carrier, no talk or very low talk is very low output, so that probably was the reason you thought I went in. I should have paid more attention. But what I'm trying to do is get the computer and still have the mic in front of me, and I just ran out of cable. Yeah, I brought you up there. I have it. I bring it up before, and I have it here now. I do have your recording. Let's get up and play it back and see here. If you want to hear anything, check. Oh boy. You're on here somewhere. Let's see. Let me take the load. Didn't record you anyway. I'll record you on the next one. Yeah, I put your page up here. And looks like quite an exciting setup. It looks very, very cool. Wonder how long you've been doing that. And Bill and I are from the same area, Pennsylvania. When we were novices, we talked together. He was about halfway across the street. That was in the western part of PA. In fact, I talked to Art, I guess it was about, I don't know, 2 years ago from, what's the name of that town in Nevada? Is it Nevada? I can't even. Triumph. Raw Pump, you know what it is. I can't pick the name out, but I talked to him. We actually scheduled a couple times. I don't know if Art is well now, if he's up and at it. I don't know. He's got a current program. I know he doesn't have the same one he started with, but maybe you can fill me in on Art. So back to you, KC9VKV, W0ERE.
Roger, Al, I'm not really sure what he's doing now. The town is Pahrump, Nevada, and he has quite an extensive antenna system out there, you know. I think it's probably somewhat akin to rhombic antennas. I understand it. It's not particularly high, but it's long on telephone poles, I believe, you know, and it's to the point that I think he's getting somewhere like high voltage pickup when he shorts his I guess it's a loop that he's running, and when he shorts the one end of ground or whatever, he gets sparks. So it's up in the thousands of volts that he's picking up on that loop antenna, I guess. But anyway, oh yeah, and I wanted to touch on the D104. The secret about the D104 is that it wants to work into a high impedance. It wants to work into at least a megohm of impedance. So if you use like a FET preamp on that D104, you'll get all of the bass that you need, plus the top end that the D104 is known for. And there's a lot of folks on AM that are using the D104 direct, without any EQ or anything, you know. Like again, the secret is for that cartridge, the D104 cartridge, to work into a high impedance, at least a megohm or so. And what I would like to try, Al, if it's possible, is for us to go to a single sideband pretty much on this same frequency, and so I could record some of the single sideband transmissions from your location, and we could compare what the technical aspects of transmissions with X power, you know, on AM versus technical aspects of transmissions coming from single sideband, kind of as a, you know, like a sidewalk survey of you know, what the two sound like at about the same power levels. Roger.
Well, have you recorded me already on the AM mode? Over.
Roger, Roger. I've got probably about 10 minutes of audio on the AM mode.
Okay, very good. Well, I have multiple ways to get on sideband. here. Calling this line goes up there. Around here a little bit to do that.
I was just looking at it. I think that at this hour, we could go probably to 3.880. You want to do that, or you want to drop down? I don't want to move too far. I want to keep the the semblance of the same frequency. What if we went just to 3.7? Well, let's go 379.000. 379. Would that do it? That would maybe a shift too far. What about 3.800? 3.800. How about that?
Got one at 305. What am I talking about? We're at we can go to we're at 380 now. So why don't we go to 375 or 38? Let me get my head on straight here. 3880. I'm not even thinking straight, man. 85, 80. 38. I got it. I'm gonna write this down. I am so tired. I've been outside working all day. My head isn't on straight. Run 880 and 3875. Over.
Roger, exactly. 3.750000. 3.750000. Roger.
No, 3.875. 3875. Over.
All right. 3.875. 3.875. 3.875. Roger.
He's five lower than what we are now.
Well, I'm on 3.879.5 now, so we'll we'll go to 3.875.
Well, you have highly sophisticated accurate gear, but basically I'm dropping down 5 kc. Over.
Exactly. I'm trying to get my head on straight also, Al.
Hey, buddy, I've been outside for 11 hours straight working on AC gentlemen, hoeing the garden, well, cultivating the garden, blowing leaves. It's a long story, but it's been an intense day. And here I am at 3 in the morning. I must be out of 2:30. I gotta get to bed soon. But yeah, let me power up the 920. And I'll go to 3875, which is 5 kcs lower than what we are. Let's keep it nice and simple. There's nobody down there anyway. At least I haven't heard anything. And to record some of the stuff I can do. Give me a little bit of time to get going here to fire up on 3875. W0ERE.
Roger, Al. Not a problem. I'll be on 3.875, and I'll catch you there on sideband. Lower sideband on that frequency. Okay, so I turned my recorder off, and now I've turned it back on again, so we are recording again, and now we're on sideband, and Al is bringing his equipment to bear. And what we're going to try to do, if possible, is to duplicate our sideband power levels to the same as we were using on AM, so then we could compare oranges and oranges possibly. Roger. Yeah. Yeah, Al has many different radios down there, so he's bringing another radio to bear and trying to warm it up there and bring it on frequency. You got it on frequency, sounds good, but it probably. What kind of radio are you running now, Al?
Okay, so I had to do some tuning there in the process, get the gain up a little bit in this thing. I'm running an icon, this one is a, which one am I on? I'm on the Yaesu Buck Tango 920.
Roger, Roger. Now that is a different microphone on that one than the other one?
Yeah, this is a pager mic made by Shure. Which mic? You know something, buddy? I have the information in my file here. It's a pager mic I've used for the last 10 years, whatever, on the 920, which seems to work fairly well. I'm sure the characteristics are definitely different, especially since I'm running sideband, but can you make me out okay?
Oh yeah, Roger, Roger, not a problem, not a problem.
Just trying to get organized. I haven't been on 80-meter sideband for a long time. I run a lot of different things, particularly 17 meters, and the homemade quaggy, or not the quaggy, sorry for the noise, this is my microphone, what do you call those things that bend, you know, it's a foot and a half long, I can't even think of anybody, I'm so tired I can't think, it's the microphone, swishy-swashy thing that, you can move around. Anyway, the point is, this rig is generally on 17 meters, and I'm using a homemade hex beam, and right now the hex beam needs some love, and everything needs love periodically, but it's a nice setup. Running an S.S.B 221 amplifier, right now about 500 watts. The antenna presently is, let me see. Okay, I'm back on the full wave loop at 110 feet facing north and south, so there you go.
Roger that, Roger that. Well, I guess it, you know, I was hoping that we could just do a kind of a change over there and just to see, AM versus sideband kind of thing. But that's so hard to do, and you have to actually plan that. And I'm sorry, I understand your situation there, and you have a setup. And what I'm going to do is take a little pause, and I'm going to tune up my SB 220 like I normally do, if that's okay with you. If you got just a minute.
Over 9 without it. Well, I can cut the power down. You want me to set the level approximately where it was, the PEP level of the AM transmitter?
Well, you'd be running a different antenna than what you were before, Roger, Roger.
No, I'm running the same antenna. This is the same antenna.
Oh, if it's the same antenna, yeah, if you could bring that power level down to about what we were using on AM.
Okay, hold on just a second. Stand by. Hello, radio 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that should be about equal, over.
Give me just a little bit longer transmission and let me zero beat you.
Okay, hold on, let me monitor. I'm switching gears from one station to another, and I got to pay attention to what the heck I'm doing here. Hello, radio 1, 2. Hello, radio 1, 2. Hello, radio. Okay, there's about where we were on the other one. Let me double check the carrier. Hold on. No. Okay, that's the same carrier level. The modulation will be whatever it is, but that's the same carrier level as the other transmitter. And hopefully you can get me tuned in. What's amazing, I haven't run this rig for a while. I got a lot of different rigs around here, and you get on a different one, you got to remember what the heck you're doing.
Roger, yeah, like I was just trying to zero beat your sideband. Oh, there is no frequency to zero beat on sideband. Oh well, it's early in the morning.
Yeah, well, Are you running digital tape equipment there?
Yeah, Roger.
Are you right on 3875?
Absolutely, 3875-0000.
Do I sound natural at my setting as you're hearing me on 3875, your calibration?
Yes, sir. Sound absolutely beautiful.
Okay, because this thing is off a little, you know, it's not absolutely locked in control on the oscillator, so if it's okay, that's fine. Yeah, so you will have recorded both of them for comparison, is that the case?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're running the same antenna and same power level as you were on AM?
That is correct. Everything's synonymous, so I can get it.
Roger, Roger. Well, just offhand, I think I've got a better copy on you sideband than I did AM as far as noise, you know, but I run my receiver differently than most folks. I've got my audio and my RF tied together, my receive RF gain tied together, and I bring them both off the deck from 0 up to what I need for the proper audio level, and that way I'm not forcing the front end of the receiver into AGC compression, and therefore I'm getting the best signal to noise ratio for the audio floor as possible. And I usually run also antenna attenuate, so I'm usually you could say I'm just on the verge of AGC compression, just on the verge, but not compressing. So you know, I have usually real good audio recording signals, Roger.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's the way to do it. All right. Well, I have analog recording here. I'm not using the right term. Forgive me for not being able to think. I'm just a duck on camera. I'm recording off a speaker, and I know the terms. I just can't spit them out. But not that you necessarily want to hear that. But anyway, will this be put on YouTube, or is this just something that we'll do today, or how is this going to be?
No, I'll go ahead and post this. This will be a QSO-VLOG, and it'll start off on our AM stuff, and then I will make an edit and flip over to our sideband stuff, and then we can kind of you know, have a shot at listening to both sides of it, AM and FM, AM and FM, AM and sideband, just to see, you know, the difference. And we're both running about the same amount of power on our earlier AM stuff as we are running now on our sideband stuff, Roger.
Yeah, that's great. That's the way to do it. I see all these different call letters behind you on the YouTube site, all different KX, BT, WRIM, WMFC. What are all those different call letters and the stations? What do they represent? Just a result with different stations in your area, or are you connected to them, or what's the situation with that?
They're reflecting 50 years of broadcasting, which I'm celebrating on my main page. The QSO-VLOG page is a segment of my main page, which is Jim Ferguson's radio story, where we celebrate 50 years of commercial broadcasting, Roger.
Oh, cool. Well, that's great, buddy. That is very, very good. Yeah, I need to pay more attention to YouTube. It's a plethora of information. My gosh, man. If a guy would just use everything on that. I've been studying Nikola Tesla, which is my mentor. When I built a Tesla coil back in the 50s. He wasn't alive, obviously, but I've been reading his bio. I don't know if you ever read Nikola Tesla's bio. It's intense. It is totally intense, depth intense. Smartest man I ever walked this earth, in my opinion. But anyway, I've been studying that and studying different nuclear situations and, you know, submarines, airplanes, all the tech stuff. And, boy, just really enjoying YouTube. It's just so much information. You got a nice site here. It looks very good, very full-looking background picture on your background of your YouTube. Looks really cool.
Thank you, sir. And Nicholas Tesla is one of my all-time favorites. Probably one of the few truly geniuses in the world ever. You know, I guess you could probably count on both hands the number of true geniuses, but he was to the point that he designed 3 or 4 phase motors, windings in his head. You know, he's just a visionary that you know, could see things before they were. You know, that's a visionary. And I mean, his whole AC/DC situation, where he was just so far ahead of his time. And you know, what's his name there with the DC circuit? He was ahead of his time at the time until Tesla came along and just wrapped circles around him. You know, had figured out the downfall of DC, the inefficiencies of DC versus AC transmission lines, and also the capability of creating 3 and 4 phase motors, which would be much more powerful than single phase DC motors, you know. So a true genius. But you know, that's what happens with true geniuses. You know, they are so pinpoint thought that they're not broad enough to be able to deal with humanity in you know, in addition to their extreme expertise in the electromechanical world. You know, being able to deal with humans and not get taken advantage of is a whole thing within itself, you know. And obviously Tesla was so concentrated on the scientific part that he got taken advantage of pretty badly on the business standpoint. Roger.
The poor guy just didn't have what it took to be a businessman. He was a genius, in my opinion. This is my opinion. I've studied a lot of different famous people, and I'll have to say, in my opinion, he was the smartest man ever walked this earth. I don't know anybody that could think a schematic in his head, test the equipment in his head, build the equipment in his head, fail the equipment in his head, and fix it in his head. But think about that. I mean, you got to look for faults before you even build it. I've done an in-depth study. I've studied him now for months. I don't know. Did you ever read a 16-page bio by any chance?
No, I've read and I've seen quite a few movies about him, you know, and I've looked at his some of his stuff, you know, and to me, just a true genius, you know.
Oh, the guy was. There's so much to talk about. We could talk for hours about Tesla, but he was walked on. You know, J.P. Morgan at jerk. And Edison was even more of a jerk. You know, Tesla was such an honest man, and he honored Edison, and he built him up, and then Edison put the screws to him and never paid him for helping to fix that lousy DC generator modification that Tesla did to help him out. And he said, "I was just kidding. You idiot." What a businessman. You know, I should say, Edison was a businessman. He was a cruel crook. And Tesla was a humanitarian. He wasn't out for money. Gosh, he gave up all his money to Westinghouse, and Westinghouse going in the hole there to produce his generators at Niagara Falls, you know, and Tesla gave it up. He gave it up. Went to feeding pigeons. You know the route. You probably read that. But if you get a chance, I think it's well worth it. If you want a tremendous education on more than just a man, but just philosophies and events, you need to read 16 pages of Nikola Tesla. It will take you, I hate to say this, it'll probably take you days to understand it. It is totally in depth. You can't just read it and say, "Yep, I got it, can't do it, I can't do it." Maybe you can, I couldn't. I had to give it a lot of thought, and I got really involved big time with Tesla. Oh well, we get on a different subject, but you obviously know about the man, and you know the capabilities, and you know, laser beaming back 100 years ago. He did some things nobody even knew about. They couldn't understand it, and they had to. There's no way they couldn't grasp it. Oh my God, man. What a hobby we're in, huh? Okay. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, back at WHAS, 50 years of experience through KC9VKV. Lay on the audio cell. Let me see what you got there.
Roger. I just wonder, would you want to, you're running what, about 400 watts now? Would you want to, or what, how many watts are you running now?
Hold on, Tim. Oh, I'll give you 300 of carriers. That's what I was running before.
Roger. I think what I would do is I'm going to hit pause for just a minute, and I'm going to go ahead and tune up like normal. At least I have some regrets about how I'm running the SB220 right now, Roger.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got to make a quick pit stop. Go ahead and do that.
All right, I'll see you in a short. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor. Audio check.
Okay, I'm in my saddle.
Roger, Roger. Me also. Do I sound any better? Sorry, we might have doubled there, Al. Do I sound any better?
Well, the audio characteristics are so much different. They're not bad. I don't know what. There's something different about it. Sounds totally fine.
Roger. It just came up about, about 800 watts.
You came up from what?
I came up from about 275.
You came from 275. What are you running now?
Right at a kilowatt now. Audio check. Audio, yeah, right at a kilowatt.
Amazing, buddy. QSB adapts to everything, you know. At one point you were less than what you are now when you're running a kilowatt. You were 20, now you're 40 over them.
Roger. Yeah, well, you know, conditions kind of shift around a little bit there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, there's no way to stabilize unless we're ground waves. So, but yeah, it sounds totally fine. The tower of power, you know, when you're running more power, there's just a tendency to have, how could I put it, a more confident sound. Almost sounds like it adds bass to it, but I think what it does, it fulfills the hollowness of no sound with sound, and just sounds good.
Roger. Well, you know, with sideband, you don't have any carrier suppression between words, you know. So the better you modulate, the more RF you flow out there, people can turn it down, and then they're turning the noise down also. You know, that's the thing that a lot of folks don't understand about, running their receiver for sideband, is that there is no carrier suppression between words. So if you are running your RF all the way up, you're going to be getting a bunch of noise between the words, whereas if you're running it just as you need it without compressing, it's kind of like how you would copy CW, almost exactly the same thing, the way that you would copy CW with attenuated, receive RF levels, just enough induced reception to be able to get a tone on it, Roger.
Oh yeah, that's all the art of reception. Much easier to listen to, less background, signal to noise ratio is far superior. Providing you don't have to strain your ears for guys got a super weak QRP signal. Or, well, you can have QRP and be loud for that matter. Let's face it, man. You've heard some jolly good QRPs that are really banging through depending on conditions and band and all that. But yeah, I've got my RF down about half, and I have gain up enough, and suppresses a lot of the background. Like, sounds good. Sounds real good.
Roger. And I think, sideband is more efficient, I think, than AM, but that's 6 of 1/2 dozen of another. I know that I enjoy analog sound a lot better than the digital stuff that a lot of folks are running today. Digital audio is just so mono monolithic, so mono-banded, the voice characteristics, the human voice characteristics are pretty complex, and digital audio reduces them to very simplistic components, very single frequencied audio, more like a share record. And I guess I'm looking for more of the humanoidal aspects of the voice, which even on FM on 2 meters, wideband 2 meters is a really nice audio system to listen to the human voice with. And also I think single sideband, even though it's processed to some degree, a good single sideband signal still is very analog feeling. Roger.
Well, you mentioned about the tube characteristics, the warmth of the tube, more ways than one, and there are more ways than one. But to come up with a solid state audio compared to the warmth of a tube, there's just no doubt about it. It's definitely different. I have a couple different amps I use. I call birds and animals here. I'm at the edge of a forest, a wildlife forest, and I get to use some of my equipment that way, and just something warm about the, as you know, and everybody knows, the audio coming off tubes. Well, okay, are you ready to play anything back?
Well, no, I usually don't play back. I just post it, and then, because, there's playing something back on the air is a real compromise. You never, I could never play anything back as good as I've got it received, but when I post it pretty much on YouTube, it is pretty much what it is. YouTube is very transparent from incoming to outgoing, I've found anyway. And what they do is they usually set zero level on the audio pretty much in the first 5 seconds of your upload. And it's a pretty, like I say, pretty accurate reflection of that. If that's all right, we'll just use the YouTube playback, Roger.
Oh yeah, it's fine. No, I wasn't sure what you're gonna do. I see you got OBB, Art Bell, out there with his quadcopter in Area 51. You gotta be kidding me. He surely wasn't flying that thing right over Area 51, was he?
No, that was one of the jokes. He was talking about that, and I asked him if he was flying it over 51, and he said, no, not really. They'd probably shoot it down. And I said, well, either that or they'd be looking at your video before you did.
When did you talk to Art last?
I have 2 conversations with Art. That's one of them, and the other one wasn't as stable, over a period of time as that one was. I'm not real sure. I think there's a date with a question mark. I think we've got the year right, but I think there may be a date font on that particular one. That was before I was doing vlogs. That was back in the day when I was just doing audio recording. Roger.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, the date was 2014, but and you're on 28.411, so I'll be doggone. I have a beacon that runs on 28, been on for 20 years now, and I have another beacon on 10.12925. 2 different beacons. Just see it on my QRZ site. Yeah, old Art Bell, what a character, man. Guy's so interesting. He's been through an awful lot. What was I going to say? Yeah, I'm wondering how his health is. So you haven't talked to him in the last month or 2, over?
Negative. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years at least, I forget. I think the other one was a more recent recording, but like I say, it wasn't wasn't as clean as the one I posted. But yeah, he is another one of those guys. I wouldn't say was a genius as such, but definitely had a proclivity for broadcast radio. He was a real a great person as far as subject matter, and he was his own engineer. He did the whole thing there, the whole enchilada. He uplinked from his Pahrump, Nevada studio, and I think his studio was actually part of his house, although he did have an FM station on his property, you know, a commercial FM station. I don't know how much money he made or whatever, but I do know that he did have a FM commercial FM broadcast station on his property. But the fact that he did his own call, I think he did his own call screening and mixing, and he was a one-man show, Roger.
That's what he wanted to be. It's just the way it was. I mean, you look at some of his early pictures on, get on QRZ.com and you'll see them. Yeah, he and I talked when he was a kid. We were both kids. You know, I was 15 years old, I guess, and he was down the path about 150 miles from me in mid-Pennsylvania. I was in the western end. And we reminisced here a couple of years ago. Geez, we're talking over 50 years difference, or 60 years difference, I guess, since we had our QSOs as kids. Way, way, way back. That was so interesting. A lot of personalities came from Pennsylvania. Awful lot of them. It's more than I realized. Very, very interesting. I had a really great childhood in the country of Western PA. We lived near where Flight 93 crashed. You remember the Flight 93 airplane that crashed there during the 9/11 incident? Well, that was about a mile from my house. Not that that means anything, but that's where I lived originally. I haven't been back haven't lived there for 60 years. So anyway, Art Bell lived down the path, and a few other personalities in ham radio. Yeah. Whoops, gonna hold the mic down here. Looking at all the different stuff here on YouTube, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, well, you know, buddy, I'm getting so tired I can't keep my mind straight. I got to get to bed. But it sure has been interesting. I wish we'd started earlier. I'd like to do this again sometime. When could I listen to the YouTube? When will it be on?
I'll probably work on it tomorrow and post it overnight tomorrow for the next day. I would think that would be a reasonable expectation. Let's see. Well, I don't know. Of course, this is the weekend, and I try to put more of my time into, you know, with the wife on the weekend than you know, during the weekday, I guess, because I'm retired, but she's still working, and I want to keep it that way. She's doing a great job, so I want to try to you know, spend a lot of time with her when I can. So I would say at least by Monday. Roger.
Yeah, that's no big deal. How long do you keep the post on there?
Forever.
I'll be jiggered. Yeah, it's really neat to use YouTube to one's advantage. There's so many things you can do. I've been doing a lot of studying recently, as I told you, with different situations. You know, secret German weapons. Boy, that's one in itself. I mean, unbelievable stuff. Have you ever used YouTube to check into weaponry and maybe some of the German tricks that have been pulled off? Have you ever done that?
Negative. I haven't from the German standpoint, but I just watched a thing, I think, on YouTube about Winston Churchill and his skunk works operation that he maintained himself, and it led to a lot of warfare inventions, like the bazooka was, I think, a Churchill founded device. Some of the frogmen used delays that I think Churchill invented the underwater detonation explosive shape charge stuff, and also the bazooka, I think, was a shape charge kind of thing. And I understand that they used some kind of a ball, some kind of a candy ball in the beginning for a delay timer, that this candy ball would melt at a certain rate, like 20 minutes or 25 minutes, which would give the frogmen time to swim to the location, apply it to the ship, and then get out of the way before this ball melted. Later on, they developed another fuse from this same skunkworks deal, which was called, it was an L delay, which was a lead string and against a spring, and the spring would pull the lead, and the lead would expand at a very specific expansion rate till it broke, and that would be the and they called that first a lead delay, and then they called it just the L delay.
Oh, B. I didn't know that Churchill was involved in skunk works. I thought that was all avionics. It's a similar name used by, again, I can't think. One of the popular avionics manufacturing had the skunk works with all the secret possible flying saucers and other unknown UFO type stuff. I thought that was skunk works.
Roger. Now, I may be using my version of his word. They may have called it something else. I'm sure they probably did call it, the English, but it was something like that. And it was that kind of an operation, So, and the idea was that ideas to help the warfare situation could be processed very quickly through Churchill versus all kinds of protocol and stuff that it would take somebody trying to go through channels as such. Al, I just wanted to check to be sure that your call sign is W0ERE, Roger?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, I just brought up Churchill. Boy, he was involved in so much stuff. This guy was a genius. He really was. So many smart people. I feel like such a leadhead when I read all this stuff. Oh my gosh. Yeah, read up on German warfare. If you want to read something exceedingly interesting. They had flying saucers developed, buddy. Or they were attempting to do it. Anti-gravity machines. They had the first, as you probably know, the first jet aircraft with dual engines. I can't remember what the model was, but oh my gosh, the Germans had so much going. It was incredible. Of course, we took their minds, von Braun, and used him, to build our spaceship exploration stuff that we sent. And without von Braun, we probably wouldn't have gone as far as we did. Over.
Roger. Well, come the end of the deal, we got the cream of the crop. We made sure that we got the brains to come over and help us. I'm not exactly sure what the enticement was. Maybe it was to be able to continue to live. I'm not real sure.
Yeah, you're right. There's several points of contention there as to what the dealing was, why we took our enemy and lauded and applauded him and put him in a high position. I personally think it's because we needed him, man. The guy was smart. He was smart. We needed his brain. Germans could have won that war, man. I'm telling you. They had run out of petrol and some other situations there. They could have put a number on us. Just amazing the way, the turn of events. But, yeah, if you study on YouTube, or get it anywhere, but YouTube will give you a tremendous background on German weaponry. They had a tank that was the mother of all tanks. That thing was so big, they couldn't move it. They built it. Can't keep my mic on, my hand on the mic. And they couldn't move the doggone tank. I think it was, I'm guessing when I say this, 10 times bigger than any tank, but it was totally unusable.
Oh, Roger, Roger. It would tend to sink in the marshland, I think. And about the war with Germany, you know, German craftsmanship has always been one of the finer things in this world. And if Hitler's moral position had been a little better, the dedication of the German people to help him might have been better, but I think that you know, there was a problem there that he could not, because of his outlook on life, the German people by and large, I don't think really supported that, which was obvious after the war. I mean, you know, coercion goes a long way, and this, well, not to get into another subject, but anyway, it's good that I think that things worked out the way they did. You know, perhaps if that war had gone on for another year, we might have been in serious trouble, because they really towards the end of the war tried to apply a lot of different technical aspects that they hadn't earlier on in the war, you know. So I'm glad it all worked out like it did.
Oh yeah, oh my, yes. Yeah, I brought up the video of this big tank. Oh my gosh, man. The Moss V3RATTE. Oh my gosh, with an AT-162 Dora gun. I don't know if it's 160... I don't know what the dimensions is in that thing. I mean, the barrel of the gun in this tank looks like it's 100 feet long. I mean, this thing looks like it's 10 stories tall. I mean, when Hitler says build them big, boy, oh boy, they went ape. Yeah, you're right, this thing was so big it couldn't move it. It just sunk in the ground. Oh my gosh. But he had some of the most top-notch secret weapons. His aircraft were second to none. He had the fastest airplane. You know, that dual-engine jet. Can't remember the name of it right now, but so much interest. And YouTube does such a great job of portraying all this. Such an education. And you don't have to pay for it. I mean, you can actually get educated by just watching YouTube.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, it used to be that they flagged a lot of stuff from the standpoint of being copyrighted, you know, and so a lot of stuff in the early days of YouTube was taken down because it violated their copyright standards. You know, they had to do that because you know, they would become a pariah if they you know, kept stuff posted that was copyrighted by other folks, you know. But yeah, YouTube managed to come up with a plan of letting the economics of the thing pay the people that held the copyright. So you can post almost anything and they'll let it go, but they'll take the monetary whatever you would reap monetarily and give that to the person that held the copyright. So you know, I think that's a great plan. I've got a lot of stuff. If you get a chance, check out my main site there, Jim Ferguson's Radio Story. I've got you know, that's full of stuff that I did over a 50-year period. A lot of documentaries and specials and full-length music concerts. And you know, when you get into full-length music concerts, you come into a situation where you know, my stuff was not well, some of the productions used records, but a lot of the full-length music stuff was location recorded live. But the tunes, you know, and all the copyrights that went with that, you know, YouTube would flag, and in the beginning I had to dump those, but later on YouTube just gave in my situation all of that is not monetary. None of that is from my standpoint monetarily rewarded, you know, but they do in other cases take that monetary consideration and give it to the copyright holder and let the production stand on YouTube, which I think is great.
Well, yeah, I think they've done some real honorable things. See, I'm trying to bring you up here. I must be spelling something wrong. I'm getting Craig Ferguson instead of you. Okay, let's see here. J-I-M-F-E-R-G. Give me the rest of the spelling.
Well, the secret to that is two S's. F-E-R-G-U-S-S-O-N. And when you go to that QSO-VLOG page, if you look at about the second entry, that is a reference back to the main motherlode of stuff on Radio Story. It's got my picture on it, you know, and that is a direct what do they call it, URL to my main page.
Okay. I'm at Jim Ferguson's Radio Story, the documentaries and specials. Is that it?
Exactly. You were seeing that on the QSO-VLOG page? I
don't know. First of all, what's a vlog? I don't know what that means.
That's a vlog is a video log. See, YouTube is primarily a video operation, so most of my early stuff is just audio, and so what I wanted to do is on my newer stuff make it video as well as audio. Roger.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I have a lot of studying to do here. Infected by the radio bug at 6 years of age. You poor guy.
Roger. So if you went to YouTube and went to the call letter search Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and then about the second entry under the main one that has all of them on there, the first one at the top has about 110 QSO-VLOGs, and then right below that there is one with my picture on it, and if you hit that one, that will take you to Jim Ferguson's Radio Story, and you know, where I have about 600 segments in that series.
Yeah, boy, you put a lot of work in that, buddy. Wow, that's interesting. 5 watts to 50,000. You didn't build yourself a little Allied Radio breadboard, did you?
No, this was a thing called the One Tube Wonder. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's they used a 117L7 tube. The filaments were 117 volts, had no transformer in it, and they called it the One Tube Wonder. Roger?
Yeah, I built one, but mine's not that. I'm using a 50C5 with a dropping resistor.
Roger. No, this was a 117L7. It was a bigger 8-pin tube. Roger.
Really? Jeez, my gosh. Can you still buy them?
I don't think so. I got mine. My mom worked at West Palm Beach International Airport. She worked for MATS, which is a military air transport service, and she was secretary for about 5 or 6 of the bigwigs out there, and she had told them about me as a kid. You know, I guess I was about 8 or 9, and one of the officers had this One Tube Wonder that he had gotten, and he had made certain modifications to the One Tube Wonder to make it more wondrous than what it was as stock. And the only thing was, he told my mom that I should always keep a good antenna on it or it would burn up. So he had kind of souped it up like a race car, except it had to have a good antenna on it or it would burn itself up. So under that guise, I strung a 300-foot long wire antenna from about an 80-foot pine tree down to the pump house, our pump house, which I was using as a studio, and connected that antenna to my One Tube Wonder, and I was doing about 15 miles radius on that.
funny. About like what I did. I had a 110-foot white pine tree. I ran my long wire, and I had a electric fence wire, I think it was number 10. Oh my gosh. It was about 500 feet. I ran it down to one of our fields, and it dipped down about maybe 7-8 feet off the ground, and at the terminal end, I think it came out to about 25 feet. That's heavy, baby. 500 feet. You know what it's all about. Of course, I don't know if you use number 10 fence wire. That's what I use. It breaks all the time. Yeah. So was that on the broadcast band?
I was just above the broadcast band, about 1610, just off the broadcast band. I did, he said also to my mom, he said, and make sure that he doesn't cause any interference to local radio stations, because they could be ugly in retribution for stuff like that. So I usually ran mine about 1610, 1625. This, of course, was much before the time when they expanded the AM band up to 1700. And on the antenna wire, I used multi-strand galvanized steel. And what I would do would be I would make a physical connection between, I only could get it in 100-foot sections, and right when I joined them, I would make a little campfire, and I had this pot that I would put over the fire, and I had some lead that I would put in the pot, and so I would melt this lead, molten lead in this pot, and then I would take this joint that I had created by just tying them together, and I would put it in water, and then I would put it in the lead, and then dunk it a couple of times, and what would happen would be this lead would seal this connection that I had made. So I had this, and it was really neat too. It was like a kind of a long, kind of like a football on a small scale, I guess, and it worked great. It kept the pieces together, Well,
what was your feed line? Oh, just a single wire feed line?
Yeah, it was just, I think it was just a piece of wire coming from it was not coax. I didn't know anything about coax then. I just had a wire, like a zip cord running from the one-tube wonder out underneath the eave, and then I would just, I think on that one I just tied it to the wire coming in.
Yeah, well, who cares as long as it works? It doesn't really make any difference. The gurus will say, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. Hey, I did it. Done. Well, it won't work. Too bad. Done anyway. I love these engineers that say, well, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. And I understand engineering. I respect that. I don't disrespect these guys at all. That doesn't mean that their way's the only way.
Oh, absolutely. I build a lot of Yagi antennas, and I go to a Home Depot fencing department, and they have a item in their fencing department that is 2 quarter-inch zinc-covered galvanized steel wires, 8 foot long, and then they have this zigzag pattern that puts the 2 pieces together, and I'd bring that home and then cut the zigzags out, so I have 2 8-foot quarter-inch wires, so to speak, and I build my Yagis out of zinc-covered galvanized steel. And everybody said, you can't use zinc-covered galvanized steel, you've got to use aluminum or copper or something. Well, I got to thinking about that, and this was about my 8th Yagi antenna that I built. Most of them are 7-element, 8-foot-long Yagis, and so I did make one out of solid copper, and I'll have you know, excuse me, that there was not a difference difference in performance at all. There was no difference in performance from the the solid copper Yagi versus the zinc-covered galvanized steel. Identical. And the only good thing was the galvanized steel was strong, and those elements, once you got those elements tuned in alignment, they would stay there. That copper would just it was such a pain. It would just, you could look at it and it would the elements would swing and sway, and you could not keep them aligned properly. Roger?
I know all about it, buddy. My first beam I built was 1-inch water pipe, welded copper. Galvanized steel water pipe on 6 meters. What bands were these beams on?
Oh, on 2 meters in the beginning, 2 meters, and then I built a bunch of 900 megahertz, excuse me, antennas in the same basic spacing and element lengths, and then I went to 70 centimeters, and I developed a 20 element, 8 foot long. A Yagi for 70 centimeters. I have one position. I have 3 towers and 4 20-foot pipes around the house, and one of those is my stack 7s and stack 20s on the same crossboom, which is the stacks that, and they're all on 8 foot poles. Or I use wood, 1 by 1.5 inch by 8 foot long pipe, as the boom, and on this stack 7, stack 20s, on the same crossboom, I use the stack 7s on either end, and the stack 20s spread out across the middle, 2 of those. And so when you look at it, you just see 4 8-foot pieces of wood up there, and it looks like they're all the same, but if you look at them very closely, there's 7 elements on the outside ones and 20 elements on the inside ones. Roger?
Turn your mic down. Well, can you bring up the computer right now? Like, point to something?
No, not right now.
Okay. When you get a chance, we'll put it in as a mystery question. Bring up W0ERE. Go to the QSL section on the right-hand side and look at the picture. I'm not going to tell you any more. You'll look at that and you'll scratch your head. I build antennas. I build some weird stuff, buddy. I mean, weird stuff. But I've had some great times. Not that I'm anything special. I'm not. I'm nothing special. But I sure enjoy building antennas. I build a slug. There's over 20 antennas set up here right now. A couple Cerber curtains. Don't have any rhombics. I have room. Just have too many trees, man. I got to bulldoze the property, and I'm not going to do that or cut the trees down. So there's a lot of different types of antennas. I just get a kick out of it. But the problem is I'm getting older, and I can't get around like I used to. I can't be up and down these mountains. It's up there. I can launch it with a, I have a projection launcher, air compression, a tennis ball launcher. Works beautiful, but someone's got to be on the other end, pal. That's the way it is. I can't be chasing after all these things. I'll tell you, I'm getting punchy. I sure enjoy this, buddy. I wish it could stay longer, but, oh boy, I'm at the end of fading off, so it sure has been a lot of fun, Jim. I'd like to do it again, and thank you for making those recordings, and I just totally enjoyed myself. KC9VKV, W0ERE.
Oh, Roger, Al. Yeah, I don't know what time you've got, but I've got 4:30 here, so I think I might be an hour ahead of you. But yeah, you're right, man. I'm fading, so I got to go. But it has been a pleasure. I really have enjoyed it, man. And I'll go ahead and try to get this posted by Monday. provided that it all works out recording wise. You never can tell. Sometimes I've had stuff that has malfunctioned from time to time, not often, and I would say probably 99% of the time everything works out, but and I'm sure this will. But anyway, let me say 3 is down that way, Al. It has been a pleasure, and we'll catch you down the frequency. Roger, roger.
Yeah, that's great. You hang around the AM freaks, or where are you found usually?
I do a lot up around 3892 and 3898. Those guys. I do some on 3810 and 3850, but mainly I like Steve up in West Virginia on 3892. Roger.
Okay, well, those are oddball frequencies. Those are oddball frequencies for me because I work on 5. 75, 80, 85, 90, as far as AM. Well, generally starts at 38, 80, 85, 90. Those are the 3 basics. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I realize guys do splits and so forth and so on. I'll look for you, buddy. I've got a lot of things I do, and ham radios is one of them, and there's a lot of other things. I've been in photography and motorcycles. Different things which require physical activity. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm getting older and you can't do everything you once did, so you do what you can, and what you can't do, you don't do it. So thank you for the QSO. We'll see you at a time, and sure appreciate it. It's been great. KC9VKV, AL-W0ERE, 73, buddy.
Roger, roger, Al, and I think our conditions are about run out. I think we've run our conditions out, so 3's to you, buddy, and we'll catch you later. Have a good night. Get plenty of rest. You'll need it for the next day. 3's underway. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor, and we'll be clear.
Okay, is my signal starting to wane a little bit?
Repeat.
Is my signal starting to lose strength?
It was going, let's see, it was kind of rounding off, and becoming a little muddy and dropping down. So, indicating the conditions were kind of petering out.
Okay. I cranked it up there. Might make a difference, might not. Okay, pal. Well, it's been very interesting. I'll look at your YouTube videos and study some other things that we talked about tonight. It was very interesting. Appreciate your time and the education. See you later, pal. KC9VKV, W0ERE 73.
Roger, roger, Al, and whatever you did that last really made a dramatic improvement. So we'll end on a high note. 3's, buddy. Catch you later, and KC9VKV is clear.
I just cranked the power up, so obviously it made a difference there. Okay, buddy. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.